After your career in politics, you returned to the bar and you were president of the Bar Association, 1973 to 1975.
Yeah.
Interesting years at the bar, do you think, from the point of view of the bar's role in Sydney society? Changes going on in the profession?
Changes were going on, but not so great as the changes that have supervened. My 2 years or whatever, slightly less than 2 years as president, were, comparatively speaking, quiet times compared with recent years, I think. And the bar ran with a very much smaller staff than now. I did a paper once in which I traced the numerical strength of the bar through the years. I think you may have come across it. I think it's...
I suppose in the 70s was when the numbers really leapt.
Yeah.
Because certainly when you came to the bar, there were only a few hundred, weren't there?
Yes, that's right.
It leapt into the thousands, literally, during the mid to late 70s.
Well, we're now over 2,000, I think. Well, I think the numbers have dropped off a bit because of the...
insufficient work.
Of insufficient work and the common law negligence work supported a very large number of people. And, of course, there was a big workers' compensation bar. But that's all gone. So the bar has become gradually smaller, I think. I've got the statistics. I did the statistics.
Do you think really the bar can afford to support so many these days? Do we have quite the need for that many?
Well, I don't think so. I think the iron laws of economics will operate to make the bar smaller in the future. I think that tendency is developing now.
And, the other thing that's always interesting when I interview people, and some of your contemporaries have mentioned this too, these days barristers are specialists. When you came to the bar, for example, you really needed to be much more of an all-rounder.
Well,
and yours was a very wide practice, of course.
Well, I tended to be a generalist.
And that, do you think, made you a stronger advocate too, the fact that you knew so many different areas of law and specialised in them?
Well, I don't know about knowing, but the fact that you practiced in so many different areas perhaps improved your prospects of being a good advocate. I've done over the years. I did a lot of defamation work, and then, but also on the other hand, did a lot of work in equity cases involving the application of equitable principle, which I greatly enjoyed. Working with people like Dyson Hayden.
Do you have any cases during your subsequent years where you felt a sense of wishing the outcome had been different? Any major disappointments? You've had many, many successes. Were there any that actually you felt shouldn't have been lost by you?
That's a good question. I don't think there were many cases that I lost in which the result was obviously, to my mind, unjust. Some of my cases have been cases in which a judgment that I thought was wrong at first instance and on the first appeal was ultimately righted. And a prime example of that was a very small defamation case that finished up in the Privy Council in 1963, and which really gave me the foothold for my practice in the field of defamation. That was Jones and Skelton. You may have read about it.
Yes, that's a very interesting case, and that was during the time you had the retainer with Australian Consolidated Press.
Yes. I had done work for Australian Consolidated Press with ups and downs. There was one period of time when Frank Packer, whose eyesight was never very good, was on watch at the newsagents at King's Cross late on a Saturday night when I was returning from a dinner party. He saw me buying the Sun Herald so that I could enter some silly gambling game under the guise of a crossword, which was also being run by another variant of which was being run by his newspaper. He saw me buying the Herald. If he'd had good eyesight, he would have seen me buying the Sunday Telegraph. And he was, for some months, the tap was turned off. He was eventually minded to turn it on again. But I did have the Conspress retainer for some years after I left politics.
You would have actually known the Packers since you were quite young, even in your teens?
Oh no,
Not quite that
I
early?
was a fair bit older.
Wasn't there some talk about Kerry Packer pushing your brother into a pool?
Oh, yes, my brother Bob. A story may be apocryphal about that, but that was while my brother Bob was in his boyhood. You see, he's 15 years younger than I. But I had the Conspress retainer.
For a good 30 years.
Oh no, well,
even
not
more?
a retainer, not a retainer. But eventually it ceased when Kerry Packer hired a man called Dunlap.
Chainsaw Dunlap.
Chainsaw Dunlap. He didn't believe in retainers, and so I explained to Packer that meant I could do cases against him, and I did.